The locksmith finished the last tumbler at 7:47 p.m. Through the wrought iron bars, I could see the glow of the community center windows, the HOA board meeting still in session, Diane Kraft's voice carrying across the parking lot as she lectured someone about landscape violations. By the time they adjourned and walked to their cars, every single one of them would need to ask me for permission to leave. I handed Miguel, the locksmith, $400 cash. He pocketed it without a word, loaded his van, and drove out the way he'd come in, through my property, because that was the only way in or out of the Meadowbrook Estates HOA common area. A fact nobody seemed to remember until it mattered. Let me take you back 8 weeks. The morning I bought the ranch, I knew exactly what I was getting. 47 acres of Texas scrubland along County Road 12, with 200 linear feet of frontage on the paved road and a caliche driveway that ran a quarter-mile back to the old homestead. The house needed work. The barn needed more. But the land was mine. Fee simple, no restrictions, no covenants. I'd made damn sure of that before signing. What I didn't know was that 6 years earlier, Meadowbrook Estates had been carved out of the adjacent property to the west. A gated community. 52 homes on quarter-acre lots, all backing up to my fence line. And when the developer built that community, he'd made a deal with the previous owner of my ranch, a man named Howard Welsh, who was 91 when he died and apparently too tired to argue. The deal was an easement, 20 feet wide, running across the southeast corner of what was now my property, giving Meadowbrook's residents access from County Road 12 to their private streets. In exchange, Howard got $5,000 and a promise he'd never be bothered. The easement was recorded. It was legal. I'd seen it in the title report and hadn't thought much of it. Easements happen. People need access. I had 47 acres. 20 feet wasn't going to kill me. What the easement did not include was a gate. I found that out the hard way on a Tuesday in April when I came home from the feed store and discovered a 12-foot wrought iron security gate blocking my driveway. Not near it. Not beside it. Directly across it. Right where my caliche lane met County Road 12, with a card reader mounted on a post and a Meadowbrook Estates sign bolted to the frame. I got out of my truck and stood there staring at it for a long time. Then I walked up and pulled the handle. Locked. I tried the card reader. Access denied. I looked west, toward the community center, then east, back toward my house, which I could no longer reach without driving through my own north pasture and cutting a fence. I called the number on the Meadowbrook HOA sign. A woman answered on the fourth ring. Meadowbrook Homeowners Association. This is Diane. This is Cole Henson. I own the property your gate's sitting on. I didn't authorize this. Oh, Mr. Henson. Yes, we sent you a courtesy notice last month about the security upgrade. It's for everyone's safety. You put a locked gate across my driveway. The gate is on the easement access road, Mr. Henson. We have every right to control our own entrance. The easement gives you the right to cross my land. It doesn't give you the right to build structures on it. And it sure as hell doesn't give you the right to lock me out of my own property. Her voice cooled. Mr. Henson, I suggest you review the easement language. We've consulted with our attorney, and everything we've done is well within our rights. If you'd like to discuss this further, you're welcome to attend Thursday's board meeting. 7 p.m. She hung up. I sat in my truck, engine ticking in the heat, and pulled up the title report on my phone. I read the easement language 3 times. It granted Meadowbrook perpetual access for ingress and egress across a defined 20-foot strip. Nothing about gates. Nothing about infrastructure. Nothing about locking the landowner out of his own goddamn driveway. I called my attorney, Paul Murchison, whose office was in the same building where I'd signed the ranch papers. He listened, asked for clarifying questions, and told me he'd pull the file. He called back in 2 hours. Cole, the easement gives them access, but it doesn't convey any right to install permanent fixtures or control access to your property. A locked gate you can't open is an obstruction, not an easement use. You've got a case. What do I do? Formally demand removal. Certified letter. Give them 10 days. If they refuse, we file for injunctive relief and damages. What if I don't want to wait 10 days? Paul was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What are you thinking?" I was looking at the gate. I was thinking about Diane Kraft's voice on the phone, the bored's certainty of someone who'd never been told no. "Let me get back to you," I said. The certified letter went out Wednesday morning. Meadowbrook HOA signed for a Thursday at noon. I got the tracking alert while I was replacing a rotted fence post on the north pasture. The letter was polite, precise, and gave them 10 business days to remove the gate and restore my unrestricted access. I didn't expect a reply. I got one anyway. It came Saturday, on HOA letterhead, signed by Diane Kraft as board president. 2 paragraphs. The first explained that the gate installation had been approved by a unanimous board vote and represented a significant investment in community safety. The second informed me that if I had concerns about easement interpretation, I was welcome to seek legal counsel, but the gate would remain. No acknowledgement that I'd been locked out. No offer to provide a key or access card. Just the bland institutional certainty of people who believe bylaws are stronger than property law. I sat at the kitchen table and read it twice. Then I called Paul. They said no. I figured. Want me to draft the injunction filing? Not yet. I want to try something else first. Cool. Give me a week. If it doesn't work, we go to court. I didn't tell him what I was planning because Paul was an attorney and had ethical obligations. What I needed was a surveyor and a locksmith, neither of whom had those particular constraints. The surveyor came Monday. His name was Tom Riddle, and he'd done boundary work in the county for 30 years. I showed him the easement legal description and asked him to mark the exact boundaries with stakes and fluorescent tape. It took him 4 hours. When he finished, the 20-foot easement strip was outlined in bright orange from County Road 12 all the way back to where it terminated at the Meadowbrook Interior Road, a narrow corridor cutting diagonally across my southeast corner. The gate sat dead center in that corridor, but the posts, the actual physical posts that held the gate upright, were sunk in concrete 1 foot outside the easement boundary. On my land. Undisputed, unrestricted, wholly mine. Tom handed me the documentation, signed and stamped. Gate hardware's on your side of the line. Easement doesn't cover structures, just access. If that were my property, I'd have questions. I paid him in cash and spent Monday night reading Texas Property Code by lamplight. Tuesday, I called 3 locksmiths. The first 2 said they didn't do conflict work. The third, Miguel, listened to the whole story and quoted me $400. I'm not cutting anything, he said. I'm not damaging anything. I'm changing a lock on a gate that's sitting on your land without your permission. That's just a service call. When can you do it? I'm free Thursday evening. I checked the HOA website. Board meeting. Second Thursday of the month. 7 p.m. Let's say 7:30, I said. Thursday morning, I drove to the county clerk's office and filed a formal trespass notice against Meadowbrook Estates HOA, documenting the gate post's encroachment outside the easement boundary and my lack of consent for any structures on my land. The clerk stamped it, logged it, and handed me 3 copies. At 6:45 p.m., I parked my truck on County Road 12, 50 yards from the gate, and watched the Meadowbrook residents arrive for the board meeting. 18 cars, maybe 20. All of them passed through the gate using their access cards. The gate that crossed my driveway, installed without my permission, that I couldn't open. At 7:20, Miguel's van pulled up. He got out with his toolbox, looked at the gate, looked at me. This is it. That's it. And you own the land under those posts? I handed him Tom's survey report. He read the first page, nodded, and got to work. It took him 23 minutes. He pulled the existing lock cylinder, drilled the housing to accept the new one, and installed a commercial-grade deadbolt with a key system I'd never seen before. Something he said came from a hospital renovation job, impossible to duplicate without the manufacturer's code. When he finished, he handed me 2 keys. Nobody's getting in without these, and nobody's copying them at the hardware store. I paid him. He left. I walked over to the gate and locked it. Then I walked across the easement corridor, which was my right, since I owned the land, and stood outside the community center window. Inside, Diane Kraft was standing at a podium, reading from a printout. The agenda on the wall behind her said, Architectural Review Applications. I waited. At 8:04, the meeting adjourned. People stood, gathered their things, walked toward the parking lot. The first car to reach the gate was a white Lexus. The driver tapped her access card. Nothing. She tapped it again. Still nothing. She got out, walked to the card reader, and stared at it like it had personally betrayed her. 2 more cars lined up behind her. Then 5. Then 10. Diane Kraft came out of the community center walking fast, heels clicking on the pavement. Diane reached the gate and tried her card 3 times before she noticed me standing on the far side. just outside the easement line, arms folded. Mr. Henson, what did you do? Change the lock. Gate's on my land. Posts are outside the easement boundary. I don't recall giving you permission to build on my property. Her face went the color of a brick. You can't do this. This is our only access. That's interesting, because this is my only access too, and you locked me out 2 weeks ago. A man in a pickup truck leaned out his window. Diane, what's going on? Give me the key, Mr. Henson. No. I will call the sheriff. Go ahead. I filed a trespass notice this morning. County clerk has it on record. Your gate posts are on my land without permission. You want to explain to a deputy why you think you can build whatever you want on someone else's property. She pulled out her phone. I waited. She made the call, and 20 minutes later, a sheriff's deputy pulled up in a white Tahoe. His name was Garrett, and he spent 5 minutes listening to Diane, 2 minutes listening to me, and 30 seconds looking at Tom's survey report. Then he turned to Diane. Ma'am, if the posts are outside the easement, he's within rights to control the structure. You'll need to work this out privately or get a court involved. He's holding us hostage. He's securing his property. You've got 52 people here. Everybody can walk out if they need to. Our cars will be here in the morning. Garrett looked at me. You planning to open this gate tonight? No, sir. Then folks need to make other arrangements. He tipped his hat and left. It took another hour before the parking lot cleared. Most people walked out through the pedestrian gap beside the gate. A few climbed the fence. One man tried to negotiate with me directly, offered $100 to open it just long enough for his truck. I said no. He walked. Diane was the last to leave. She stood on her side of the gate, and I stood on mine, and for a long time neither of us said anything. Finally, she spoke. What do you want? Gate removed. Full access restored to my driveway, and an easement amendment that prohibits permanent structures without the landowner's written consent. The gate cost $41,000. Should have asked first. The board will never agree to remove it. Then the board can walk to their cars every meeting night until they change their minds. She stared at me. Then she turned and walked toward the road. I locked the gate behind me and went home. The HOA held an emergency session Saturday morning. I wasn't invited, but Paul got a courtesy call from their attorney, a man named Gerard Voss, who sounded tired. Mr. Murchison, my clients are prepared to discuss a resolution. I'm listening. They'll provide Mr. Henson with an access card and add him to the gate system. Not good enough. The structure's on his land. He wants it removed. There was a pause. That's a $40,000 gate. Then they should have installed it on their own property. It took 11 days. The HOA hired a contractor to dig up the gate posts, patch the asphalt, and reinstall the whole structure 15 feet west, fully within the Meadowbrook property boundary, clear of the easement and clear of my land. They sent a surveyor to verify it. Then they sent me a formal letter confirming the work and including a signed easement amendment that prohibited any future structures within the easement corridor without my written consent. Paul reviewed it, said it was clean, and I signed. The gate reopened the following Monday. My driveway was clear. I could come and go as I pleased. Diane Kraft resigned from the board 2 weeks later. I heard it from a neighbor who lived on the Meadowbrook side and had watched the whole thing with quiet satisfaction. Apparently, the membership had questions about who approved a $40,000 gate installation on land the HOA didn't own. I didn't follow up. I had fence to mend and a barn to rebuild. But sometimes, driving home, on County Road 12, I'd slow down at that gate and look at it, set back now where it belonged, on their side of the line, no longer blocking a single inch of my land. And I'd think about Diane's voice on the phone that first day. We have every right. Turns out rights are only as solid as the ground they're standing on. And when you build on someone else's ground without asking, you'd better hope they're the forgiving type. I wasn't.